To you, our esteemed viewer, this is yet another beautiful, beautiful day and evening. Yeah, we must say that God has been good to us. He might not have done a lot of things, especially you might have hoped for a lot, and maybe you've not seen them come, but at least you're alive. He has given you life. Even if He had given you all the others without life, you wouldn't have seen them. But at least you have life, and that is the hope that we build on. So there is a tree, there is hope, even when a tree is cut, that it will sprout again. Therefore, there is hope for tomorrow to accomplish what has not been accomplished today. But we welcome you to Church of Uganda Family TV and Leadership His Way. Leadership His Way, Leadership God's Way. This program is brought to you by the Leadership Support Group, a group that is committed to walk with you the leadership journey. That is why they have dedicated this time for you to tap into their experience, that which God has revealed to them, so that it can help you. I remember one time, one of the members of this group, Professor Ezra Sruma, at one point said that God has put people to support you in your journey. Now, if you do not want to utilize that opportunity, it's okay, you will learn, but you will learn the hard way. So, do you really want to learn the hard way? Yet, there is an easier and better way for you to learn. The question is yours. So, here we are. Edwin Austin Mukalazi is my name, and today we are looking at accountability, in the role of accountability in godly leadership. This is also another intriguing topic and table-turning discussion, but nevertheless, here we are, and we have to bold and talk about it. But before we get into the details of this discussion, allow our panelists to greet us. On my immediate right is Mr. Patrick Sambaga. It's a pleasure having you this evening.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers.
And then we have Dr. Eki on the other. Actually, someone was like, but why do you call her Dr. Eki? So probably people want to hear us call you Dr. Ekiria Kikule. We have to pronounce your all names, because for these others, we pronounce all the names, and for you, it's just Dr. Eki. But Eki sounds fancy.
Yeah.
Doctor, it's a pleasure having you this evening.
Good evening, viewers. And I wave to my grandchildren.
Okay.
And yeah, it's okay to be Dr. Eki.
So we have been exonerated. Yeah. And then Mr. Muhumuza, it's a pleasure having you this evening as well.
Thank you. Good evening, viewer. I'm glad to be here.
And we're also glad to have you here. And I believe our viewer out there is happy to have you once again. Now, today we are looking at the role of accountability in godly leadership. And of course, since Mr. Sambaga is closer to me, I would request him to especially break down for us the word accountability and the key aspects in accountability.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mukalazi. Accountability is basically a term which can be explained as to be answerable. Yeah, to account is to answer for. And so when we talk about accountability, we are asking what are the things, what are the resources, what are the issues, what are the things that you are in possession of, that you should be answerable for. And many times these things are time, resources, which can be money, which can be assets, which can be many things, really. So what is it that is in your control that you should be answerable for? That's what accountability is. And basically, when we talk about accountability, we are saying what is it that you are responsible for, and therefore we should expect results as a result. So it's about responsibility and the consequences for your actions over those things, those resources that you are in control of. Throughout the Bible, we encounter many examples of individuals that face outcomes of their choices, very many. So that's what for a leader, we expect that we are going to make reference to the Bible, pick those examples and apply them in our day-to-day lives. So the role of accountability in leadership, in godly leadership, takes us to the Bible, that we go and pick those examples, pick them out, put them on the table, we learn from them. What do we learn from them, and how do we exemplify them in our day-to-day lives? And so there are different aspects of accountability that I would like to run us through. There are basically 5. One is alignment with God's teachings, and I'm going to explain this later. Accountability is about alignment with God's teachings. What does God's teachings say about accountability? It's also about transparency. Godly accountability is about transparency. What is it that you receive and how is it spent? And is there transparency or no transparency? Accountability is also about building trust. Building trust between you, who is accountable for those resources, you who is in custody of those resources, and those who you dispense those resources to in terms of services. Godly accountability is about spiritual growth. For all of us whom God has called, He has deposited His word in our lives, and we are responsible for transforming. That word is responsible for transforming our lives, and then we in turn transform those around us because of His word in us, and therefore spiritual growth for us who receive from God and then who dispense God's word to those around us. So there must be spiritual growth. The last aspect of God's godly accountability is stewardship of resources. I've talked about resources. That for all of us, God has planted His resources. My intellect is a resource. My physical ability is a resource. My family is a resource. My land is a resource. So God expects that after He has deposited all those resources on me, I am going to exercise maximum stewardship over those resources for my good, for my neighbor's good, for the community's good. And so those are the key aspects of accountability.
Okay, thank you so much. And of course, Dr. Eki, talking about accountability, the big question now comes in, who are we accountable to?
We are talking about leadership God's way.
Yeah.
And therefore, primarily, we are accountable to God.
Okay.
Because we are even where we are, because He sent us there, He put us there. And then we also need to be accountable to ourselves. Be honest with yourselves. What have you done with the time? What have you done with to fulfill the task you were given? Have you used the time the way you should have used it? Then you are accountable, as far as I'm concerned, to your family. Okay? Your wife, your children, or the people with whom you share household. But as far as the leadership is concerned, then you are accountable to the people you work with. Your supervisors, your bosses, the owners of the organization, you are accountable to that. So you have accountability on all these levels because God requires it. And accountability has to do with integrity. Are you an honest person? So tell us how you used the resources. Shouldn't be difficult if you are an honest person. When we walk with Christ, accountability is also not a challenge. Because whichever direction we take with Him, we can account. The problem is, if you give me money, I use it, but I can't remember what I did. I can't show you this is what I did with the money. Now, it could be that honestly, I spent the money as I should have, but I don't have any proof. When it comes to money, that proof must be there. So you either pay it back or you tell us how you spent it. Okay? And accountability is also humility. Because you are putting yourself to, let me say, to question. How did you do this? It's not that we suspect you, but we want to know. Most of us are given resources to do something. So, in accountability, we want to show we received the resources, we did what we are supposed to do, in the way we are supposed to do, in the time we are supposed to do it, with the resources we are given. If it did not happen the way you were supposed to, you also give explanations. That's part of accountability. So it is very important for us to appreciate that accountability is part and parcel of our leadership requirements.
Okay.
As I said, it requires integrity, it requires humility on our part. A young man who told me, why should I go explaining myself? So I said, well, who gave you the money? Was the money yours? If it's not yours, the person who gave you the money needs that accountability. Just show them what you did. But it impacts on your character if you can't tell us what you did with that money. So he said, Dr. Eki, you think I'm a thief? I said, what I think is not an issue. Just tell us how you use that money. So we need to put a lot of weight on accountability because it's reflecting our faith. What do we believe in? Who do we serve? And then our own integrity as people. Most of the, or maybe I shouldn't say more, there are some people who are caught in that web. A lot of money was given. There's so many people who had to receive that money to do ABC, but this particular person does not have that accountability. And they end up in jail. Not because they stole it, but their accountability did not add up. So we need to be very careful that whatever God gives us, we need to account for it. To ourselves, to Him, to the family, whichever level, we need to account for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eki. Mr. Muhumuza, looking at accountability, what are some of the biblical principles that govern this concept of accountability?
Thank you. Before I come to the biblical principles,
Yes.
I want to say that for most of us, when you talk about accountability, they think about money that has been given to you, and then you write a list of how you spend the money, you have the receipts, you attach them, you say, I've accounted.
The signatures.
And sometimes those receipts are even made from Nasa Road. Cooked up, it balances, and you say, I've accounted. But I want to say that accountability is much, much bigger and more general than that. when God created biblical principles, when God created humankind, He did not create us as an island. No human being is an island on their own. He created us as a family of brothers and sisters in this world. And He expects us to be accountable for each other, to God and to each other. That's why in the Garden of Eden He came and said, Adam, where are you? Account for yourself. Account for your time and presence and location. Where are you? I need to be having fellowship with you. And he said, I'm naked, I'm hiding. That was accountability. When Cain killed Abel, his brother, he said, what have you done to your brother? Am I my brother's keeper? That was accountability. So God has given us various relationships in this world for each one of us. And we need to be accountable to each one of us. I look at accountability from a level of stakeholders. So if you're in a family setup, the husband is accountable to the wife. The wife is accountable to the husband. The children are accountable to the parents. The parents are accountable to the children. If you look at the community, you are accountable to the community as a member of that community. You are accountable to your neighbors. Your neighbors are accountable to you. If you are a businessman, a businesswoman, you are accountable to your customers. You're also accountable to the impact of what you do to other people. We are accountable to the environment. The things we are doing, are they destroying the environment? And they destroying the environment. If you use pesticides, if you throw kavera or plastics, so accountability, God accepts us to be accountable to Him. God and do what He wants and His will. God expects us to be accountable to each other, love one another, serve one another, live in unity and harmony with each other, don't hurt each other. If you look at the 10 Commandments, half of them are about accountability to God. The other half are accountability with each other. Don't kill, don't steal, don't covet your neighbor's wife. He expects us to live responsible with each other, to use the resources given us in a fair, equitable manner. When it comes to leaders, there's much more required of leaders because He's put us in those responsibility positions to achieve the vision, mission, and goals of whatever entity you are leading. So as a leader, you need to be accountable to the people who put you in power, who give you responsibility, to do what they expect you to do in terms of achieving goals. But also, leaders are given the responsibility of making others accountable. You have power, you have authority to enforce regulations, policies, and rules. For those who account very well, they're given the tick, they're given commendation, they're given promotion, they're given rewards. For those who don't follow the rules, you then discipline them and punish them. So to me, God's expectations of accountability is general, and all of us as human beings are accountable to one another. When my daughter, who is a younger adult, still stays with me, goes out in the evening, I expect her to tell me where she's going. And expect her to honor the curfew time and be back at the time we agreed. When I give my grandson pocket money as he goes secondary school, I expect him at the end of the term to tell me, or visiting day, the money you gave me, this is how I used it, this was the balance. I also expect him to show me his books, and the reports from the teachers, how he's been doing. So we all need to be accountable to one another. That's God's expectation of us. But also we need to be accountable to God, hold each other accountable. Then we live in harmony and with each other. We'll please God by loving Him. We also live at peace with other human beings.
Thank you so much.
But also,
Yes,
accountability grows trust. If you are accountable to me, I grow to trust you. And a leader who is not trusted has an uphill task. You want the people you are leading to trust you. Yes. I want to go.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Mr. Sambaga,
Yes.
before we take a break, take us through some of the levels of accountability, because it is really very important to understand them.
Levels of accountability could be one, to yourself. How do you handle yourself? How would you look at yourself? How do you conduct yourself? The Bible says you'll be judged by what you say, what you do, even what you think. So that has a lot to do with you as a person. That's one level of accountability. How would you dress? How do you present yourself? And how do you talk? How do you eat? How do you, move around? Anyway, there are things that are about you, the person, and you have a responsibility. And remember, by definition, we talked about accountability as responsibility with consequences in mind. Yeah, so that is very important. Self is the first level of accountability. The second level of accountability is to your peers or mentors or family. That is very important. That has been indicated by Dr. Eki. So that is another level of accountability. If it's office, the peers hold you accountable for the number of things that are expected of you to deliver, and so that is also another level. The other level of accountability is groups to which you belong, like fellowship, work colleagues, any forum of like-mindedness in terms of issues that you address. All those are that's another level of accountability. If it's a fellowship of believers, you need to explain yourself. How is it that I did this, I didn't do this? And they hold you accountable for certain actions or lack of actions. And then accountability, the fourth level is accountability to the public. Robby talked about Kavera. How we know, even in the absence of a law on Kavera, you have a responsibility on how you dispose of that Kavera or mineral water bottle or any other things that are of public concern. In this country, people burn bushes. That's not right. We owe to the community that everybody should breathe clean air. When you burn a bush, it pollutes the air, and that's not right. So everybody, it's not written, probably written somewhere, but it's not enforced. We must exercise accountability on how we burn, how we treat our refuse. So that is very important. So those are the four levels of accountability, and I've given examples.
Yeah, actually, the last one is very, very important, and I think it is the most neglected. I think as people, we do not want to be accountable to our fellow human beings. So someone thinks they're only accountable to God, they don't mind about the rest of the people. And to me, I think this is really very, very important to know the various levels that besides that fellowship, the work group that you're in, there are also other people that you are accountable to. But we are taking a short commercial break. When we return, we are continuing with accountability and the role of accountability in godly leadership.